I really never ever seen myself as being in this position ever, because I was the stubborn guy that, my shoulder could have been hanging off me and I would have just kept going.
You got this.
Yeah.
Never giving up, that resilience. I mean, that's one thing that we have in us as tradesmen. It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've gone through, we are capable of moving through the things that come at us in our lives.
Yeah, all of this stuff that I'm going through, it's actually normal.
All right, friends. Welcome back to the Don't Change Much podcast. My name is Mike Cameron. This is the show where we talk everything men, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. Maybe we haven't got there yet, but I suspect we might. I'm here with my co-host, Trevor, and we got a couple of guests today. How are you doing, Trev?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for counting us in there. Look, we got an amazing show today. Quite often, it's not unheard of for us to have doctors and athletes and professionals of the sort, and even some actors and people that we see publicly in different spaces. But today we want to celebrate the working man. And we've got two incredible working men here today, Mr. Shawn Underhill, a veteran skilled tradesperson and iron worker, and my friend James Boseley, who I don't want to get into your story, but a veteran oil and gas worker, and now doing incredible work around pain counseling at Pain BC. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. These could be two of the most important stories we tell. Not all of us have the privilege of being athletes and being celebrities or doctors. Some of us have the privilege of building the communities and extracting the resources that run this country and these economies. Welcome to the show. Don't Change Much. We're so excited you're here.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Trevor. Quite the introduction there. You know what? Speaking of like the athletes, I felt like an athlete when I was on the job, man. Some of those days, those long days up on the steel, like, man, we were working like athletes. Our bodies were running like an athlete, except for you're doing it all day,
But here's where it gets tricky, though. Are we treating ourselves like athletes?
Oh, we aren't, right?
No. Are we being treated in the construction culture like high-performing athletes?
Not at all.
Well, let's get into it, man.
What's the gift that you've got to give today?
Being that strong guy, that hardworking guy that we are, to not hide behind that. And if you're going through stuff, and we are going to go through stuff all the time, I'm still going through stuff, but, knowing that doesn't matter where you've been or what you've gone through, we are capable of moving through the things that come at us in our lives in a healthy manner. It's doable. It is doable.
And what's the gift that you're bringing today?
Well, I think it's to show the people that are dealing with pain, mental health, addiction, whatever it may be, that there is hope, even at the darkest depths of hopelessness, that if you do take accountability, you do take control, you advocate for yourself, because at the end of the day, that is who's going to advocate for you. I've had lots of people tell me that this is as far as we can go, like as far as saying some insurance companies, how they dealt with my injuries, but I didn't give up. And, I went from being a guy that was just a truck driver recently. That was my last job, and long life of oil field and equipment running, stuff like that. And now, I got my counseling diploma. I'm working for Pain BC as the trades and pain lead. So, like next 2 weeks, I'm going to be talking on a panel at Buildex. In April, I'll be talking on a panel at the Canadian Pain Society in Quebec City. So, like all of those things, it's because I'm not giving up. I want to bring awareness to this.
Yeah.
Because it's so overlooked. Like everything that's going on, you look at the statistics in the trades, and it's been so overlooked for so long. And I'm so grateful that people are paying attention to it. but there's a lot of work to do still, like the stigma, reduce the stigma, people actually acknowledging and doing something about their pain instead of, uh, tough it up attitude or tough it
Yeah,
out
working through
attitude
it.
that we can still get stuck. Yeah, we still get stuck in it.
Yep.
So the fact that, somebody like myself can give my lived experience and go talk about it and help people that are still healthy or maybe do have some injuries and aren't talking about it, that it makes it okay for them to say, oh, okay, this guy, he understands. We've been on the same page. He's not just some guy out of college.
No.
He's an actual boots on the ground guy. And this is how he's talking. Maybe it'll bring more attention to it. I hope.
Yep.
I really hope.
What about that? Like, not never giving up, that resilience. I mean, that's one thing that we have it in us as tradesmen. Like grit. We have that in us, but where we put it into our mental health and our like our values, the things that we like actually value in our lives.
Well,
I didn't know much about values until I landed myself in treatment in 2017, right? And realized that everything that I was doing in my life, the things that I thought I valued, my family and none of those were making no decisions based on my values if they were not in line whatsoever. You start learning about those things and acting on them, like James said there, doing something about it, taking some accountability. And then that's when, being vulnerable. And then that's when the growth's gonna happen, right?
The gift they bring is not just my lived experience, but my ability to sit and listen and to ask good questions and to demonstrate to others that there is a different way to do things that leaves us healthier and in better shape in the world.
I love that. What really resonates so far to this conversation, James, you talked about I'm not fresh out of college, and darn those college folks, but it really is that translation piece and taking that academic information, the research, the knowledge, and finding ways to translate that into words and modeling the way for others. Because again, I think, I see it in the business community. I see it in the trades. You guys touched on this, the grit. And the thing that jumped into my head is this, I've got this attitude, which can be fantastic. But I got to tell you, I got this can be the loneliest 3 words on the fucking planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so there's that balance of tough and tender, that combination of grit with being able to say, you know what, right now I will have this, but I could use some help. So how do you guys do that? How do you guys do that in your industries?
Well, I see what you're saying, because a lot of times that I got this, that's just the trauma response that we got used to adapt to not having the help. So it's one of those things, if we can learn it and reach out, it's probably going to make life a hell of a lot easier on the site, wherever you are, if you can have the strength to say, look, I need help. Because a lot of times it can lead to injuries or accidents because somebody is just, I got it, but they're being complacent. They've done it 1,000 times, but today they're not feeling right, or something doesn't seem right. Something's changed. They do it anyways, and all of a sudden, they may never work again. I was telling Shawn some stories yesterday where I was on locations that people didn't go home because of complacency. Yeah. So it's not always, I got this and go on. You got to take that time to think. And it's when I got to a point in my career where if I was saying I got this, and even had people that were working, like I was usually a supervisor, and I would have people come to me and say, I'm starting to put things away. I just want to get out of here as soon as it's done. I said, I got it, but don't be in a rush to do anything. We're not done yet. Just take a breath, relax, because that's when shit goes sideways.
And I can relate to that too. There was no space for you to go. There wasn't a safe space. There wasn't even there was no area you felt you could just go be vulnerable and say, oh, I need help, going through this. And the thing is, though, is we're continuously going through stuff with, whether, well, not all of us, but I was, there's those layers, relationships, there was the substance use, the pain I was going through. And then you throw you lose a family member, so throw some grief and loss in there. And then, but for companies not be able to have some accountability there too, to recognize these things going on with whether they're a coworker one of their employees, and be able to throw a boat in instead of just turning the door on it. And same thing, like just raising this awareness, having these conversations just so that people can hear. Is huge, because there isn't always that safe spot for the worker to go, or the time at the end of the day, hey, like, I'm going through this, I might not make it in tomorrow because like I'm really going through this. No, we need you here tomorrow. No. Like, it's just there isn't that spot, man. And like, so these conversations that we're having right now, and it's to say at the end of the day, but you get started off really vulnerable, really nervous, and then you get some momentum, a little bit of traction, you can start to feel something grow, and that's where the momentum, we know how it works. Try it out. People try it out.
Dude, I can see it growing as you're articulating it. Like it's building, and then it does become I fucking got this because you got my back, so I got.
Yes,
but that part where I do got it. Now we know that we've got a group behind us too that is supporting us.
Right.
If we're going down, they prop us up. So it's nice to have that, and have that understanding in your head that it's you got it. Doesn't have to be alone. That's a biggest thing that I've noticed, is just knowing who is truly there for you, and it's a game changer.
My whole life, I seemingly had to be at death's door, or at the very bottom, or the most desperate place for me to consider changing as an option, right? Like looking inwards, changing myself. Maybe I'm the problem. And I think the work I do in recovery now, which I'm kind of hearing from you, is a little bit more future oriented, like not waiting until the last minute before I identify a problem in myself and changing, adapting, seeing an area where growth is necessary, or something that's tricky and binding me up, and just proactively changing before my life is on the line. And and it's hard. It's hard for a guy like me that will tell myself it's fine, and tell the world around me it's fine, and show up, it's fine, I got this, until like literally I'm drowning and people are looking at me like, why do you think you're okay right now?
No, you don't.
No.
It happens to often like that too, though. That men, that whole pride thing. Like, I got this. It's not like it's okay to ask for help. I mean, the more we are as a community, as a group, and look out for, we do. Like, there is a brotherhood in the trades. Like, as an iron worker, there was a brotherhood, but it was a different branding of brotherhood, different. It's just that culture. It's a broken culture. It needs to be changed. It's the shift. We're starting to see a bit of it, but things need to be changed. The community needs to be there for the mental health. Mental health period is an issue these days that has to be addressed and maintained and looked after. Like, each day is part of us, so we have to look after it.
And we can talk about men's mental health specifically, because there's some unique challenges that we face societally as dudes that cause some unique problems that are going to require some unique solutions. So we can acknowledge that there's some uniqueness to that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And Shawn, some of your substance use was directly related, and your challenges with it were related to pain management, chronic pain from injuries, and stuff like that. And I think that's, an important thing to talk about here today, especially if we got James here. It's tough being in the trades. We use our bodies as tools every day, and that has consequences. And not all of us find healthy methods of managing that pain. And I just maybe think, James, if you could speak to that, I know that's what caused you to transition out of the industries you were in and now thankfully into a role as a pain counselor at Pain BC.
Yeah, I really never ever seen myself as being in this position ever, because I was the stubborn guy that, my shoulder could have been hanging off me and I would have
You
just
got
kept
this.
going, kind of thing. Yeah. Like I had an aneurysm once and I didn't go to the hospital for a week. Like it's just silly stuff. But it's now that I look at it, like I do wish that I would have understood it a long time ago, so I could have, maybe I'm not in the position I'm in now, but I'm actually in a strange way grateful that it all happened, because everything's supposed to happen for a reason, for it to put me on this path. Like Shawn has said a couple times too, I think it saved my life, because during that time of my injury, like I'll tell you a little bit about it just real quick. Like I grew up with injuries too. Like I grew up sick. I was always in the hospital. I had rheumatic fever. I had the family come and say goodbye to me. I had that aneurysm. I've had shit luck with health, and I worked hard and I just kept going, even though like some days I could barely walk. And then I moved out here in 2016 onto the Vancouver Island, and I was driving a roll-off truck, and I was putting a tarp on a bin because there wasn't an automatic tarper. So I was in this bin, and it was about 9 feet tall, and it was just heaped in garbage. And so I'm walking on there, unrolling my tarp, and all of a sudden I stepped on a piece of cardboard and I dropped right to the bottom. So I dropped that whole 8, 9 feet, whatever it was. And I kept working throughout the day and everything else. I went to the hospital about 2 weeks later, and they're like, well, it's inconclusive. We'll get back to you. So then I was waiting for CT scans. But this whole time I'm working like 6 days a week, up to 75 hours a week. And then I finally had to go off because I had a separate injury where I was trying to climb into a bin that didn't have a proper ladder. And I tore I caused an umbilical hernia is what I did.
Oh.
So I had to go off for surgery because it was bad. And so this was 4 months after the accident. And it took, from that time I was off, it probably took another year to find out the extent of my injuries. So for that time, I was walking on a shattered heel that I seen a specialist 6 months later. When I walked into his office, he just sat there staring at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm here for my appointment. And he said, "Well, where's your cast?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "You should have been in a cast since day one, 6 months ago." And I said, "Well, I phoned your office and they told me if it was that bad, you would have seen me already." So, that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with the healthcare as well. So like I said, a year plus later, shattered heel, I had a broken leg, I had a broken hip, and I blew out a disc in my back. So I'm trying to overcompensate. I'm trying to do all these things, and it's just making it worse, worse, and worse. And of course, the time I'm off, the stress I'm under of the unknowing of when I'm going to be back to work, how all that's going to look. I had complications with my surgery, that I had a really, really bad infection. So the list went on and on and on. And now, with what I've understood from working with Pain BC, is the majority of that pain that rose was because of the stress. It was because of the lack of sleep, the lack of nutrition, lack of so many different things.
That word
It's
her pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where your mental health can come into play, and that's where chronic pain can come into pain into play as well too, because your brain becomes so efficient at going to pain that even when you're not injured, it's still going to pain. And that's what's called neuroplasticity of your brain. And the good thing about that is you can recreate new pathways. You can change that. Like I'm taking a course right now called pain reprocessing therapy. And I've been dealing with something off and on for just about 10 years. And well, it's a men's thing, so I'll just be honest, because if somebody hears this, it's going to be good. Yeah. So I've had moments where I've had insane testicle pain, like to the point I felt like somebody was stomping on my crotch. And it would be like that for days at a time. And it would hang on, like I was getting tested for prostate, for testicle cancer. I was getting all these things. I was getting ultrasounds and nothing showed up. So, and now I take this pain reprocessing course and they do an example and the guy talks about the exact same thing.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That he experienced. And I've been talking to my boss and a few other people about it, that I think it is a neuroplastic thing where it's been proven there's no actual injuries. There's, no infections, nothing like that, but I'm experiencing this pain. But it's also coming up at times of extreme stress. So, and, you got to just look at it differently, where ever since that, I've been when I started this course and I seen that, I started telling myself, okay, I notice the pain now, but I'm okay. Like I'm not injured. There's nothing showing I'm injured. I'm okay. And the pain has pretty much gone away. Well, so many people get it misinterpreted because a lot of doctors will just tell you it's in your head.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. All pain is in the head because that's where that's the sensors.
Yep.
But they're not explaining the whole thing about how neuroplasticity works or how your stress, the biopsychosocial model of it all, your sleep, your food, because even food can cause inflammation. We all know that. How much exercise you're getting, how's life at home? Are you stressed out? Are the bills adding up? All of those things are factors.
Yep.
And until you're looking at the whole model, and I think we even work with Pain BC works with doctors where they're teaching that, you got to look at the whole picture, like holistically. You have to look at it, at a person, at a patient, at what they're going through. And you look back at, say, some books of Gabor Mate, where he kind of started understanding that by sitting in, when he was working at a hospice, and he'd sit with these people and, they're dying of cancer or whatever. And he listens to his stories, and the majority of it led back to childhood traumas that were unprocessed. Like he just didn't really do anything about it. And a lot of times it was understandable. There was a time where seeking help, number one, it could be a financial burden, or somebody could have made fun of you and you just stayed away from it. It got to be tough. And then not just for men, but for women too. Like it just makes you look at things a lot differently. And that's when I start looking at what I can do just from the courses I've taken, the work I've done. And it was tough for me, but to realize that, all of this stuff that I'm going through, it's actually normal. Like all these people that are here, like I was in with like TV stars and athletes and musicians and all of this stuff, like where I sit in ceremony with these people and you think, oh, they got it made. No, not a fucking chance.
Yeah.
We're just as fucked up as any of us. So, and it made it feel, I mean, yes, it felt normal, but I was like, I'm no different than anybody else, no matter what hat they wear or whatever. We're all the same.
One of the things that I worry about a little bit with the amount of self-help stuff out there and available, which can be fantastic, is to recognize that it doesn't mean you have to isolate. Dr. John Olin talks about the 3 I's: injury, internalization, and isolation. So when there's an injury, we tend to look inside for a solution. And then
we isolate.
When we can't find that, then we isolate. And of course, that just exacerbates the problem. So doing the courses, doing the work, fantastic. But I think some of the thing we've all touched on a little bit is that connection to community. So I just want to reinforce how important the teacher, the path, and the community. I think that's Buddhism talks about your path and community, but the community piece is so important.
So if you're looking at bettering your mental health or wanting to make changes in your life and having that curiosity, I think that's huge, man. Like all the power, like, because that's what you need to. Well, you're already, be out there, put yourself out there, be vulnerable, have that curiosity. Um, if something's not working and wanting to look at a next alternative and like for the growth on a forward trajectory, perfect. As long as we're moving forward, doing something, having a look at something, whatever. Don't look too far down the road, like, because it's just going to look too big. But like the next thing that you're going to be capable of, as long as we start. Well, for me, it took me a bit, but like start making these little things and getting that traction and growing that community. The more you talk about it, the more you hear, the more you relate, you connect, and like hear what, like the importance of it. I look back at where I thought the road was so narrow and I see nothing in the future, and I had kids and stuff. But now I reflect back to where I was and how my way of thinking was so selfish and narrow-minded, but like how many opportunities I have out there now to be there for all my nieces and nephews, my brother Pat and Tass and my children, and be that influence or that rock with some of this knowledge, or like, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know. It's big. And when people, it's catchy. You can, you start getting the little bits and hearing the little things, and it grows on you. It will naturally.
Yeah. You don't have to change much.
You don't have to change much, little bits, man.
Yeah.
I love that we can circle this back to at the beginning. We talked about, sometimes I feel like an athlete because of all the things I do. And we touched on, as an athlete, as a professional athlete, like we've got a team around us. We've got a team that we often play for, or if it's individual sport, then, we've got a physiotherapist, we've got a psychologist, a performance psychologist around us. We got a massage therapist. We got an entire team around us to help us as athletes. So why the hell wouldn't we have a team around us for life? Whether that's your therapist, your friends, men's group, Pain BC. Avail yourself to all of the opportunities, organizations, and supports that are out there, because they are out there. They're just sometimes a little bit invisible, and that's why we're having these conversations.
Yeah. And there's those layers that we spoke about too. There's those layers. So there's these different resources for all these different layers. Like, you know what I mean? For me, I had multiple layers. So it wasn't just, and I had to go layer by layer. I wasn't just going to peel it all off and have a look at it and sink.
No.
It's growth. It's forward momentum. It's possible.
Yep. Once you start to open the box and look inside it, it's actually less scary than I feared, right? Like, it just had to get my eyes on it. And once you've seen it in the daylight, there's no reason to be scared of it anymore. And, I think what you're saying, Mike, about having a team around you, it's like, what would the culture look like in skilled trade sector if they had those teams built into their organizations? If we had therapists, if we had athletic, physiotherapists on staff, I think that people would show up with a different mentality and come into the trades. Because let's face it, a lot of it, like what I'm hearing today and what I hear from, notoriously from many people that have worked in the trades, is we come in with a little bit of baggage. And the trades don't know how to deal with that, right? Like the skilled trades industry and employers, they don't know how to handle some of that shit we came in with. And then we're learning from people that haven't resolved their traumas, haven't done their work. So it kind of perpetuates the cycle. And we, Shawn, we didn't get into your story with the opioids and the painkillers that were prescribed to you for your injuries and how that got carried away. What I heard today is like the healthcare system is not set up to handle what we experience on job sites. They write it off. They say you've pulled a muscle, take a few weeks off, which you inevitably can't afford to do. They overprescribe painkillers. There's no pain counseling. They blow off our injuries like they're no big deal, and not realizing that this might look small on paper, but I live with this every day and have to go perform in my job every day. So it's a big deal. So we end up treating it like it's no big deal, right? Because that's what the healthcare system tells us.
That's funny you say that because, like, yeah, as a young, like, that was, it was up before the Olympics. So I was like fairly early in my career. And when something major like that happens to you, and then, so I already had a little bit of a substance use issue, like growing up, experimental. But when you're added bottles of Percocet by the 100, and then 3 weeks later, rush back to work with that same bottle of prescription drugs and your opiates in your pockets, like that whole, like, working, like, it's just like, it can get mixed up real early. Like, I'll be honest, I did not know how to navigate it. And then when you cut off that medication and still in that pain, without any of this awareness or the community groups and knowledge or learning about it, like, if you're unequipped to deal with it, you can end up in a scary situation.
James, last words before we start to wrap up here.
If anybody in BC is any of this is connecting with you and you'd like to look into it more, just come to painbc.ca and you can have access to our pain support lines. We got a text support line that is part of my project with Trades in Pain. It's called the Guideline. And you can text anytime from like 1 to 8, Monday to Thursday. And it is directed towards people in the trades that don't work bankers' hours. So that's something I'd love to pass on, is just painbc.ca.
Awesome. Thanks.
They can get a hold of me too if they have questions or whatever.
Okay, fantastic. Gents, thank you so much. What an incredible conversation. The problem with this show is it's too short. We really need like a 5-hour show to unpack all this stuff. So for all of you out there listening, if you're enjoying these conversations, want to hear more, want to hear something different, give us a like, drop a note in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to hear or who you'd like to hear from or subjects you'd like to hear about. Because, yeah, man, we got lots to talk about. And Trevor and I got lots of life left in us. So we're going to have some more conversation. Trevor, what do you got as we sign off?
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you guys both on here. I want to celebrate your courage. You guys, there's a reason we don't have a lot of guys that look like me and you and James stepping up to do this stuff, is because it's hard. And I just want to acknowledge that. These are very personal discussions that we have, and the world's not always kind to people with our kind of experience. But I really like what you guys have said today is going to connect with somebody and that needs to hear it. And I really thank you so much.